Hello, this is Kathleen Nicole O'Neill for the House of Cartomancy YouTube channel. And so today I wanted to do an unboxing deck review of a deck that I've had for a while now, but I hadn't gotten around to unboxing it yet. And so I plan to unbox it today. And this deck is the Antique Anatomy Tarot, as you can see here. Deck and Guidebook for the Modern Reader by Claire Goodchild. And on the back it says, oddities and curiosities await you in the Antique Anatomy Tarot. Enliven your readings with this exquisite deck of tarot cards, which feature vintage anatomical illustrations and delicate botanical drawings. The accompanying guidebook offers insight for every card and explores the many ways you can use the deck for self-discovery and personal growth. A wildly creative interpretation of the practice, the Antique Anatomy Tarot is an indispensable tool for the contemporary reader. 80-page guidebook with full-color photography, 78 illustrated tarot cards. And it says here on the back, Claire Goodchild is an award-winning artist who specializes in tarot and astrology and the founder of her company, Black and the Moon. Experience more magic at blackandthemoon.com. Designed by Diane Shaw, printed in China. And this is from Abrams Notary, an imprint of Abrams. And you can learn more about that company at abramsnotary.com. It says here on the back. So this is what the back looks like. So I'm going to show this to you from all angles. This is a very nice package, as you can see here. Fairly large, very sturdy. And I've had this deck for a while. I don't know a lot about this deck, but I've wanted it for a while. And then I pre-ordered it, and now I'm finally getting the chance to unbox it. And so, now we're going to learn more about it as I go through this process here. You see it's a very nice sturdy box type setup they have here, which is really nice for those of us who like to store our decks inside the boxes, and we want to have a nice safe place to store it. We don't want to have to go out and buy extra things to store the deck in order to keep it safe, to keep it clean, to make sure that it's an effective tool for divination and self-exploration. And so this is what it looks like when you open this nice set up here. It's really nice, and it says it's all in your hands. And right at the top we have this guidebook here, and it's a very nice guidebook. It's a good sized guidebook. It's a thick vinyl feeling cover, good size book, and these are such beautiful illustrations on the cover. Let's see what it has to say. So the guidebook has a normal table of contents, and you'll see it has an introduction and a history of the tarot, and some really nice colored pictures in this guidebook. Tells about the major and minor arcana, if that's not something that you're familiar with, or it's something you want to brush up on a little bit more. And then there's a section here where it talks about numerology and the tarot. And here's a section where it talks about astrology in the tarot. So those are very nice, fairly unique features. And it has astrological associations for all of the major arcana. So, for instance, the Fool corresponds with Uranus, change, and rebellion, according to their system. And the Sun corresponds with the Sun itself, the body in the sky, the conscious life force. And then they also have some astrological associations of the minor arcana too. And so their minor arcana in this deck are labeled elixirs, coins, rods, and blades. So it's a little bit different from the standard way of doing this. Instead of cups, you have elixirs. Instead of wands, you have rods. Instead of swords, you have blades. Instead of pentacles, you have coins. But it's pretty obvious which each goes to. And this section talks about the elements in the tarot and color in the tarot. So this has some interesting new features that I have not seen in other decks and guidebooks, and that I'm going to be interested in reading about and learning about more, because this is a unique approach, and I'm really interested to see what they've done with this here and what their take is on how their systems match up with the tarot that we all know and are familiar with. They have this section here, ways of using the tarot, which looks like it could be fairly helpful. Again, I'm not reviewing this because, I haven't had time, obviously, to read the content. This is just an unboxing and some first impressions. But, so far, I like what I'm seeing here. Caring for your deck. And then they have some spreads. And then here we come to the major arcana, as you can see here. And so here, for each card in the major arcana, it will give the card's name. For instance, the Fool. Numerology, the number associated with the Fool in this deck is 0. Astrological correspondence, Uranus. Element air. Companion cards, all of the major cards. And it has that for every card in the deck. And, of course, they have the same thing for the minor arcana. And so they have the suit of elixirs. It goes through all of those cards, and it has a picture of the card, and it tells a little bit about what it means, as well as some keywords for that card. We then have the suit of rods, the suit of coins, the suit of blades, and then finally we get to the back here, and here's some credits and a nice photo of the author and a little bit of information about her. So you can see what this guidebook is. It's a nice guidebook. It's a fairly decent size, and it has some unique things in there. So, from here, we have the deck, and this is what it looks like when you take the deck out. Isn't this beautiful? I really love the packaging here. The packaging is so important, and it can add so much to a deck. And I'm really pleased with the packaging for this deck, because for those of us who read tarot In Study Tarot, we know that packaging is important because it is not only part of the presentation of our decks, and it's not only speaks to what our decks are about, but it's also how we store our decks and take care of our decks. And so we want nice sturdy packaging, and that is definitely the case here. So if that's something that you're overly concerned about, I don't think you'll be disappointed in this case. This is what the back of the cards look like. Oh, excuse me. This is what the back of the cards look like. I showed you the front of the cards accidentally. This is what the front, the back of the cards look like. And it has several different things here that you can go through. Excuse me. I just have to clear my throat a little bit. And so here we have the back of the deck, and you can see it's a very nice back of the deck. So here we have the representation of the Fool. And I think this is a really interesting representation of that card, because you can see that it's a card that has to do with stepping away, and it shows a sense of purpose, stepping into new places, new things, new people, finding one's footing. There's all of these metaphors that go along with the way they have portrayed the Fool here. And this is the Antique Anatomy Tarot, and so they're portraying all of these different aspects of the tarot through the anatomy. And so as you'll see here, the Fool is portrayed by the foot. And so it's I think a very poignant representation of the Fool, and that's just a taste of this deck, and it will give you a sense of the kind of things that this deck represents and that we're going to see as we go through the cards in this deck. And again, if you haven't seen my unboxing videos, I don't plan to show you every single card in the deck. I don't plan to do all of that. I want to just show you some of the cards that have the most meaning for me and that just jump out at me at first, just in terms of unboxing and first impressions. Because if this is a deck that you decide that you want to purchase and work with, I want you to have some surprises and some unique things whenever you unbox it and work with it yourself. So I'm just going to be showing you some of the cards that immediately jump out at me the most. Hierophant is one of my favorite cards in the tarot. It is actually, of all the cards in the tarot, the one that probably has the most meaning and significance for me personally, as you'll learn if you follow this channel and listen to me talk about the tarot. And so it's one of those cards that I'm always interested to see how it's depicted in every new tarot deck that I encounter. And so this take on the Hierophant, it involves bones and it involves leaves. And so we think about the symbolism for that and what bones mean in terms of strength, setting a strong foundation, being the bedrock of our bodies and what we go through. And also we have some leaf imagery, and I think that's very poignant because it speaks to fertility, new ideas, new growth. And I really like this depiction of the Hierophant because it sort of shows how out of rigidity and tradition and things that are very sort of concrete and unchangeable, you can also have this great sense of fertility and beauty. And I think that's a really great take on the Hierophant because a lot of people see the Hierophant card as being very, very rigid and all about organized religion and organized ways of education, and how that can sometimes be stifling to the individual or to oppressed groups of people. And of course, that's an important element of this card that we all need to be wary of. But at the same time, I really like how this shows the bones as portraying a strong foundation and how that can lead to fertility, new ideas, new growth. And I really like this depiction of the Hierophant as someone for whom this card has a lot of meaning and significance for, and as someone for whom it's very important that this card be depicted in the right way in a deck that I'm going to want to work with and interact with on a fairly frequent basis. So I really liked that. You see in this deck the mix of the imagery of viscera, if you will, with flowers and foliage and all that sort of thing. And I really love that. I think that's really interesting. So here you have the Lover's card. And of course, it's represented with the heart and with roses, which is exactly what we would expect when we think of the archetypes that this card symbolizes in the system of the tarot. This is a very beautiful Wheel of Fortune card, and I really like how you see all these different things depicted on the card. And you have a knife, you have an elixir, you have a rod or a wand type thing, and you have something kind of like a pentacle. So it looks as if they're representing the four elements of the minor arcana on this Wheel of Fortune card, which I think is very unique and interesting. I really like the depiction of the tower in this deck with this sort of Tower of Skulls and what that represents in terms of how the tower is a very challenging card. And it's a card that deals with sudden difficult situations and things that spring up in a very spur of the moment sort of way. And I like the skulls because it shows how our minds and the things that are symbolized by that skull can sort of create a tower of problems, in a sense, if we allow that to be the case in our lives. And at the same time, I think that this card has a really interesting message about mortality and the nature of that. And so I really think this is some very powerful and interesting and provocative symbolism here on this card. I like the Judgment card here. This skeleton seems like it has had its fill of things and is just busting out of there and is just ready to see what happens and to have the final judgment come to pass. And I really like that. Very interesting depiction of the world here on this card. And the suit of cups here is elixirs. And here for the Ace of Cups, we have this elixir here. It's a love potion. I think that's very apt for the Ace of Cups in terms of what it represents in reference to emotions and relationships and spirituality. I like all of the different tonics that are represented in this deck. So here for the suit of elixirs. The Four of Cups here, you have morphine, arsenic, heroin, and cyanide, which I think is a really, really powerful portrayal of the Four of Cups. The Eight of Cups, you have all of these different elixirs. So, Let Go Potion, Despair, Aura Cleanse, Soul Journey, the Void, Wake Up Potion, and then these two are hidden. I think that's very powerful and very interesting. I really like this unique deck and what they've done with the tarot in this context here. I'm really pleased with this. And here for the court cards, we have the suit of elixirs. So this would correspond to the Page of Cups in a more traditional tarot deck. And here it is, eternal youth. And it's depicted in this way. Come to the suit of rods, and this is basically what we see here. We see rods depicted in this way, along with various types of foliage and flora. That is just one example. All of these cards feature different depictions of different types of flowers and plants that grow from the earth. Here is how the Knight of Rods is depicted. So this would be the Knight of Wands in a more traditional deck. So you can kind of see what they're going for here. So this is the suit of coins. So on all these coins we have these really fascinating, detailed, beautiful images that call for so much thought and reflection. I really like this. This is a very thought-provoking deck. It would be a good deck to journal with and really to, I think, explore in depth, because there's so much symbolism here and so much that I think just, a brief perusal of this deck will not do justice to. I really think this is one that you have to spend a lot of time with and really think about on a deeper level to get all of the symbolism and really appreciate, I think, all that this deck has to offer. I'm very impressed with it. I don't think that it's a simplistic deck. I don't think it's just a pretty deck. I mean, it's, of course, a beautiful deck. It's gorgeous from an aesthetic perspective. But at the same time, I feel like in terms of the meanings behind what is portrayed, I feel like there's a whole lot there and it's a lot deeper than you're going to be able to get into by just glancing at the cards and thinking about them in just kind of a traditional way, in terms of the kind of taken for granted Rider-Waite-Smith system of tarot. I think this is something that really calls out to be studied on its own terms and dealt with in a deeper way. And of course, I imagine the guidebook will probably help with that for those that are interested in going through it. So this is what, for instance, the Four of Coins looks like in this deck. These images are just so powerful. They're so resonant. They're almost like Rorschach ink blots, in the sense that you can look at them and take so many different things away from them, and a lot of that will speak to what's going on in your life at the moment, and what's going on in your mind at the moment, and what you need to see and what you need to take away from the cards that you're interacting with at any given point in time. But I think these are so powerful, and I really think these are interesting depictions. Here's the Nine of Coins, just to give you another taste of what they're doing in this deck with this suit. I'm very, very intrigued by this and very fascinated by it, and I just can't wait to look at it in more depth and think about it and explore it more later. Here's the Queen of Coins, so you see a court card from this suit. And we come to the suit of Blades. So this, as you can see, is what they're doing with the Two of Blades, for instance. Here is the King of Blades, a very powerful image. So, I think that brings us to the conclusion of our unboxing and first impressions of this tarot deck and guidebook box set. I'm very impressed with this. I think the quality is excellent. So if this is a deck that maybe you were thinking about purchasing, or that you were perhaps interested in acquiring, I would recommend and invite that you do so. I don't think you will be disappointed. I'm very pleased with this, and I'm very glad that I decided to spend my money on this deck and add it to my collection. I think that I'll get a lot out of it. I think that I'll probably look at it and think with it and meditate with it a great deal. And again, this is the Antique Anatomy Tarot from Claire Goodchild. So that's what it is if you want to look into purchasing a deck for yourself. And again, This is Kathleen Nicole O'Neill for House of Cartomancy. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've enjoyed this content, and I appreciate you for watching this unboxing video with me, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.